Good morning. Welcome to Enjoying a Blessed Life. My name is Michelle, and today I'm going to share some things that are going to be a little bit different, a little bit out of my comfort zone, but hopefully these are things that you're going to be able to take away and maybe have a different outlook and maybe even a little boost or a zest for life. So this video is orchestrated by Karen from the YouTube channel Two Orchids. Several times a month, there's a group of us women that get together. We are all new to YouTube. We all are trying to share different ideas, different things that we have experienced in the beginning of our new YouTube channels. And some of the things that we have recently been talking about are things that we can do to empower women. Our group has gotten together and we have come up with 5 different questions that we thought would be a way to start out and explain some of the basic things that we have been through in life's daily challenges or something that we have experienced since being a teenager. So I want to jump in and just start out, and hopefully you will be able to gain something from these questions that have been asked of all of us. So the first question is, I had a dream. And I'm going to start back as far as when I was a teenager. I would say that my dream back then would have been that I wanted to graduate high school and I wanted to go into cosmetology. My mother, back then they were called beauticians, but back then I knew that that was the road that I wanted to go. I wouldn't say that back in the late 60s or early 70s, my mom didn't have a lot of the trendy styles, but it was the basics that she always truly appreciated. And those basics are some of the skills that she helped me progress into adulthood, such as the importance of keeping up with a healthy skin, the importance of hygiene, the importance of making sure that when you went out in public, you at least wanted to be presentable to where you didn't look like you just rolled out of bed, and to put on a little bit of foundation and a little bit of lip color. Sometimes that's all you basically needed. So those were things that were instilled in me, and back then that was something that I definitely wanted to actively look at pursuing after high school. But back then there was not much money that was to be made from being a cosmetologist. So not knowing what I wanted to do, I didn't want to go to college quite yet. I didn't even know if college was the realm or the avenue that I wanted to pursue. High school for me, I tried my best, but I just wasn't into sitting long enough to learn. But, you know, looking back now, oh my goodness, the things that I could have learned by paying more attention in high school. But regardless, going from high school to not knowing, my mother at the time talked with some local county officials, and at that time in the state of Illinois, you could go up to Springfield and you could do some type of summer interning type of programs, and not knowing yet what that was going to be for me, my mom decided for 3 months you're going to go to Springfield and you're going to work in the House of Representatives as a summer page. And that's what I did. So that was the start of my life journey. So question number 2, did you go to college? I've already answered that, and that answer is no. And number 3, what did or does your career look like? So now to go back to my summer as a page with the Illinois House of Representatives, I enjoyed That first year, for me, it was one of those things where I graduated high school on a Sunday. The next day, I went into the workforce as a summer page. And I will say that back then, that was something that I wasn't really too fond of, as far as I did not get a summer vacation with my friends. I was not able to do the summer sports that our local town offered. But looking back now, that summer was probably the life changer for me. When I got up there, I was with people that were much older than me. I learned rather quickly to adapt to my environment around me. And I found that at that moment, I was beginning a, a chapter in my life where learning from older adults and the mature environment that I was in helped me to mature more rapidly than kids that I graduated with from high school or friends that I hung out with here in my local town. So I had found out that after the summer, I just didn't have the same outlook on life, and still not knowing what I wanted to do for a career, I already had my feet somewhat grounded, and I just continued to pursue some type of employment at that time to now become part of the state process. So I was able to stay on with the House of Representatives for about another year and a half. And at that time, we had our local senator, our state senator, lived in my small town. And I grew up and went to school with his children. And at that time, he knew that I was up working in the Capitol building across the rotunda in the other chamber. And at that time, he was looking for somebody to run and manage his district office here in my hometown. So, long story short, I took that responsibility on. I stayed with that local senator for 15 years. Those 15 years, I found that I not only grew as a woman, but I grew and matured more into adulthood. I learned to know the importance of when you tell someone something, you stick to that responsibility and you follow through. Another thing that came into play was presenting myself as being somebody that was confident. Confidence was something that I learned as time went on working in this environment that I was in. Confidentiality, of course, working for a legislator, or when you think about it, just anybody that you work for, being a loyal and dedicated person that has morals and values and that presents himself as somebody that is not only confident, but is also trustworthy and comes to work with a good attitude, has a smile on their face, willing to help people. Those are things that not only did I learn at an early age, but those are something that has been a staple in my daily life. I took very seriously because I was not only a reflection of myself, but I was also a reflection of the senator. So learning at an early age to have that self-confidence and to have that good self-esteem is something that I have been able to take away and use every day. So to finish out the question of what my career looks like, after those 15 years with my senator, he passed away of colon cancer in it was 2004. Once he passed away, his wife finished out the remainder of his term, and I stayed with her for another 4 years until she was finished. And from there, I decided to get back into the state agencies because I still had a little bit longer to go before I was able to retire. And I went on to work in another agency, and I will be retiring at the end of this year with 35 years in state government. And I can honestly say that it has been a rocky 35 years, but this, even though I did not go and follow a dream that I wanted to start right after high school, I will say that the 35 years in state government has been one of my most humbling, be right back. These past 35 years have been some of the most humbling years of my life, but they've also been some of the most joyous and also some of the most growing as an individual that I could have ever experienced. One of the things that I do want to add, when I was working in the General Assembly, I will say that politics was something that was never in my blood, never in my makeup. I do not want to entertain comments. This is not a political post by any means, but politics in general is something, in my opinion, either you like or you hate. I will say this, even though politics was most of my career in the 35 years with the state of Illinois, I knew in my heart and in my soul that that was definitely not a field or a life that I ever wanted. That was basically a part of my life where most of my life lessons were learned. Most of my life's challenges at this moment were learned. A lot of times people ask me, well, do you feel that you've missed out on a lot by not going to college? And I can honestly tell you, no, I really don't feel like I have, because I have always been the type of personality that I would love to learn doing things hands-on. I have been able to grow as an individual, mature as an individual, and the lessons that I have learned in life, I myself have been able to share with not only friends and family, but also silently those people that I will never know anything about. And one of the things that I want to share is I have had the pleasure of knowing my grandfather for nearly 50 years. My grandfather passed away this January. He was 103 years old. And my grandfather, I learned, was a man who has never been vaccinated, never owned a gun. He has lived through every war, was never called up, and he feels that the reason why he was never drafted was at the age of 22, my grandfather lost 2/3 of his stomach due to ulcers. So my grandfather lived on fruits and vegetables, white meat, hardly any processed foods, exercised daily. Just the things that he has shared with all of us grandchildren. Those are the type of life lessons that I sit back and I think, what can I do to share those things with other people out there to help them in their daily life? So, question number 4, if you could do it all over again, would you? No, I don't think I would. Maybe in a sense, if I could do some of it over again, I would. Would I do the political side all over again? No. Would I find a way to be a part of helping, like I have expressed earlier, being a part of the district office here with my 2 local senators, I would do that all over again. I have found that by that type of learning experience, seeing the joy and the satisfaction on someone's face that a job that I did was something that was very beneficial to them, that was what gave me the most joy. Helping people is what I feel that I want to do in my life. Whether it be some type of inspiration or it be some type of helping hand, that is what I have always enjoyed doing. So would I do it all over again? All depends on what we're talking about. So number 5, share ways that you have been able to have your cake and eat it too. I don't know if I ever liked that expression that I want my cake and eat it too. Life is about change. Change in a daily life is something to, in my opinion, just embrace it. Things that I have learned from the very beginning, whenever I understood that I can change the way that my life is going to go. I want to choose the path that my life is going to go. Not until recently, I would say within the last 3 to 4 years, did I fully understand what I can do as a person to change the outlook of my daily life. Change is something that I embrace because I know that change is a mindset. What you do in your daily life all depends on the attitude that you have. Life is about change. Nothing that we do will ever stay the same. My goal in life is to live out what God has set forth in my life. And every day is a new day. Every day is a new challenge. I embrace my day with a positive attitude, hoping that I make it to the end of the day and hoping that I have been able to be a blessing somewhere, somehow. So, some things that I want to share with you in closing with this video. When I spoke earlier of my grandfather, over his lifespan, buried 2 children, and he buried 2 grandchildren. One of those children was my mother, the other was an aunt. And when that happened, our family got together and sat down with my uncle and my grandfather. To back up, my grandfather had 3 children, a girl, a boy, and a girl. And my uncle is the last remaining sibling. There are 8 of us grandchildren left. We all decided that we wanted to sit down and record my grandfather's life story. And it took 2 Saturdays back to back, but we got that done a couple of years ago. And we are all so grateful that we were able to hear his story. I know as a child growing up that you don't always think about, hearing how your grandparents or your parents for that matter, how they lived and what life was like growing up. But I encourage any of you out there watching to find the time to sit down with your family and do that, because I will honestly say those 2 Saturdays was the best Saturdays of me and my family's life. So some of the things that I want to share with you that I took note and think about every day that my grandfather shared was, number one, always be kind to one another. Kindness gets you a long way in life. And there are people that you meet on a daily basis that are struggling with things that we know nothing about. So to them, a simple word of kindness, a compliment, or a kind gesture will go a long way to a lot of people. The second thing that I took from that was good friendships are priceless. Another thing that I learned from my grandfather is do not hate anyone or anything. Hate, it's a disease. I look at it that hate destroys my soul. I can always forgive a person. I don't have to like the situation, but forgiveness for whatever has happened frees up not only my soul, but frees up my happiness. It frees up space in my mind and in my heart. Hate is the root of all evil, in my opinion. Hate and negativity get you nowhere. If you find that you're in situations where there are negative vibes going on, then remove yourself. Hate and negativity, no thank you. Another lesson I learned is, in my grandpa's case in life, if you are healthy and happy, you yourself are a multimillionaire. Thank you all for getting to the end of this video. And one of the things I want to say is thank you to Karen and Lauren in the Two Orchids. And if you all would take the time to look at my description box and please go out and see the videos of the other women that I have collaborated with on this, I would greatly appreciate it. All of us on this chain are in the same boat. We are all striving to make a difference, to be some type of influence to people out there. So I would greatly appreciate it if you would go and share some love and support to my other friends in the YouTube world. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I hope that you have a blessed day.